Welcome to Odds Bowl Extravaganza. This is going to be so much fun. We have 10 games, 10 bowl games that we're breaking down on this show. And then we're going to meet up again next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern to tackle the rest of them. We have our panel of experts ready to rock and roll. Up in the top right corner, the big Ragoo in the house. How you doing, Ragoo?
Good. Hey, when you say experts, use that very loosely around these guys, right? But yeah, we're doing good, man. I'm doing good. The crew's doing good. Good to be here, and we get to jump into these early bowl games. 2 days removed from the regular season. It's crazy.
It's wild. I'm excited. This is going to be fun. I like these matchups. Let's head down right below you. DJ Bigg Boss in the house. How you doing, boss?
Well, you know, Jimmy sliding on in at second with a losing record in the last contest. I'm so excited to try to do this one again right here. But we got the gang here again, and we got everything that's fit for the task. You know what I'm saying? But I'd like to give a shout out to you, Jimmy. Like, you know, hanging out with you, a lot of places that we went. You know, I learned a lot of stuff from you. You know, some of those stories about, you know, how you used to be, you know, standing in the front so you can feed your daughter and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things I always do, and I never forget about, and I always think about you, is when I break out the dirty water, Jimmy. Learned this from Jimmy, the dirty water. So I got the dirty water in pocket, Jimmy. We ready to go. Let's do it.
Nothing makes me more proud than to see you with some dirty water. And if anybody ever sees me with a water bottle, understand that that's vodka in there.
Yeah.
John Ryan, my man, welcome. Monday, December 21st, Bowl Extravaganza. How you doing tonight?
I'm totally confused already. I've never heard the term dirty water, and I thought vodka was clear.
No, it's fucking dirty when I'm drinking it, man.
Here in the East Coast, we use Starbucks cans, containers to mix our coffee and vodka together, just so you know.
Okay, all right. Well, I got a little Kraken in this cup right here to celebrate the new Seattle hockey team. I'm ready to have some fun. I spent a lot of time on these games. There's a lot of moving parts here with players opting out of the postseason to get into the draft. There's injuries, and I tried to attack them the best I could. I'm excited to rock with you guys. And shout out to Noli Knows, who won our conference championship contest. We are off to a new contest, the Bowl Extravaganza. In the Bowl Extravaganza, John Ryan cashed with App State. Big Ragoo cashed with the over. And Big Boss and I had to watch North Texas play unbelievably bad. Right, it was so early in the game, I was like, oh, I'm in big trouble. You can't stop Peoples. You got no chance against.
Speaking of the bowl games, Jim, there's one change already, a major change in the Liberty Bowl. Tennessee is going home, and we're going to let Army slide in their spot at 9-2, which they deserve to be there.
I love that. Big Ragoo gave us Army on our show on Saturday. He also had a round robin that included Army and Stanford Dogs, and that cashed. Great job. Yeah,
that played like plus 530 on that one. Wasn't bad. And I was kind of trying to I was thinking of my buddy John going for the swinging for the fences. I had Oregon State, but they didn't get the job done. So 2 out of 3. That's the Meatloaf song. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. 3-1 laid. Got back like almost 5.5 with one casher. So that's how you beat it.
I had an okay day. I went 8-5. I ended up for the week 8-7 because I came into Saturday 0-2. But I'll take it. I'm excited. I'm excited about breaking these games down. We're going to start on the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, but let's give a shout out to everybody joining us in the chat. Maxwell Smart, 420 in the house, our college basketball expert, off to another big day. We just need Tennessee to stay strong in the second half. I'm trying not to score watch there, but Max got off to a winning start today. Tori Coker in the house, John Schwartz, Sammy B, Kevin Riley. Love that. Tori Coker was the first guy in the chat. Alex Ramirez started a Spidey play today. Lonnie Mills says DJ eating crow on Notre Dame. You don't really eat crow when you take a plus 300 money line. You eat crow when you take like a minus, a favorite.
Hey, I had the under too, Jimmy. Come on, I had the under. 1-1. Come on, give me hey guys.
You had the under.
Crow when you take the Rams and they're playing the Jets.
Oh,
That's a good call. And by the way, I did win the Survivor pool on that game. I had Tennessee. The other two guys had the Rams.
wow.
Oh, man, that's beautiful.
What were they, 17-point favorite in that game?
Yeah, 17.5. Buzz Nuts ready to go. Marlon Z, Prince of the City. And Matteo Capelli says to me, reminds me of the kid in grade school who always had the best slumber parties. Hey, Matteo, I'll take that. I'll take that. Okay, let's get to work. And we start with the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Tuesday, December 22nd. So tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, Tulane Green Wave versus Nevada Wolfpack. And I have my man Kevin Riley, who's in the chat, who's bullish on Nevada. I've had a couple people send me Tulane as a pick, but there's some things going on in this game that lead me to want to back Nevada money line. This is the situation here. Tulane opens up as 3.5-point favorites. It moves to 2.5. The total opens up at 56.5. It's now at 57. Let's start with Tulane. Finished the season very strong, winning 4-5. Their only loss over that stretch was to number 22 ranked Tulsa in double overtime in a game which they led 14-0 going in the fourth quarter. A game that with 1:06 left, Tulsa had the ball at their own 26 on first and 20. Tulane up 21-14. Tulane had a 99.5% probability of winning. They closed their regular season out 2 weeks ago by snapping Memphis' 3-game winning streak with a 35-21 home win. Tulane outgained them 419 yards to 300 and scored all 4 times that they reached the end zone. Freshman Michael Pratt improving as the season goes on. He threw for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 2 more, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions on the season. They have a 2-headed monster at running back with Stephen Hudson, 118 carries, 721 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Cameron Carroll, 112 carries, 621 yards, and 11 touchdowns. So here is the big story here for Tulane backers. Their star defensive end, Patrick Johnson, who leads the team with 10 sacks, is away from the team while tending to a personal matter and will not be available against Nevada in the Idaho Potato Bowl. If you look for anyone else or the next best lineman that can get pressure on the quarterback, no one else on the team has more than 4.5 sacks. You have to dig deep. Patrick Johnson is their man. Tulane averages 35.4 points, allows 27.2. Then we get to Nevada. After opening with 5 straight wins, Nevada's lost 2 of 3. Nevada coming off a disappointing 30-20 loss to San Jose State when they were up 27 at the half. Sophomore quarterback Carson Strong was excellent this year, throwing for 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Junior receiver Romeo Dubes caught 53 passes for 960 yards, 9 touchdowns. Their offense puts up 29.9 points per game. Their defense was strong this year, allowing 379.3 yards per game and 22.9 points. I think not having Johnson is a big deal. Let's start with our man, DJ Bigg Boss, who knows this Nevada Wolfpack team inside and out. I didn't make any moves. I wanted to talk to you guys, but there's a couple spots that I was wanting to make. And betting Nevada on the money line is something that I want to bet. Big Boss, what do you think of Nevada as dogs here in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl?
Man, I'm loving this spot right here for Nevada. But before I mention Nevada, let's take a look at the Green Wave right here. Now, the Green Wave does have a lot of defensive sacks for the year, contributing from the player that's not going to be with them. And they're also giving up a lot of sacks on offense. They're giving up 27 sacks a game. And one of the worst parts about the whole situation is on defense, they're giving up 280 yards in the air. Now, Nevada, they've played against some really tough teams against the run, San Diego State, Wyoming, some of those Mountain West teams. They played against some of those really tough defenses. And they did well, despite only going for 111 yards on the ground. They managed to put up 325 in the air. So they're going up against a team that gives it up in the air. This is a coaching matchup right here. You got Willie Fritz, 5th-year coach over here at Tulane. But then you got Jay Norvell. I'm high on 3rd and 4th-year coaches. Here's the 4th-year guy right here. He's locked and loaded in position, had a really good season, I would say. And he's coming in this bowl game. And the Mountain West does well out of conference. They did really well out of conference at the beginning of the year last year. And a few games that were out of conference, minus the BYU game, they did really well as well. So right here, I got about Mountain West with Nevada. Nevada Carson Strong, quarterback, senior. Then over there on Tulane, you got freshman quarterback in Pratt, who's had an up and down season. But this time you're going to give Carson Strong a little time to throw the ball. He'll pick you apart. And it's off conference, so they're not even ready for the type of offense that's going to be hitting the field. It's going to be all Nevada, and you're giving me points. I don't even understand why they're giving them points. So your money line, might as well take them on the money line.
That's what I plan to do. Do you have any feel on this total that's crept up from 56.5 to 57?
I mean, the total is kind of spot on. I was expecting for them to inflate it because Nevada scores a lot of points, but Tulane does run the ball a lot, so that's gonna slow the time down. So the 57 made a lot of sense, and it's just in a lot of ways. I'm not gonna even use the V word this week. I'm gonna refrain from doing that out of respect to John Ryan, but there's a lot of reasons why I just prefer not to miss 57.
V.
V.
Okay, let's bag this and tag this, Big Boss.
Yeah, sign me up. Sign me up. Am I the first one to get a pick? Sign me up right now, Nevada. But give me the points. Give me the points just in case, though.
Okay. We'll give you the points just in case. We will give you. Oh my gosh, that MGM is really offering a +3.
Bring it on.
There's no way. This was not available a second ago, and it's available now.
See that? Now that moves me away from the money line for sure. If you can get a field goal in between, give me the field goal.
DJ, you making people run to the window the other way.
I don't think. Wow. Let me just let's just give this a second here and let it refresh itself. I'm going to check out these books just to make sure these aren't stale lines, because there's not threes available anywhere, and I don't want to give us stale lines. So let's move over to John Ryan. John, tell us what you think of the bowl here, famous Idaho Potato Bowl. And remember, to everybody, to John, Ragoo, and Big Boss, we have to give a pick on each game. John Ryan, take it away.
No, I'll preface this with all due respect to DJ. I'm taking Tulane here, and here's my take on it for what it's worth. I think Tulane has a superior offense to Nevada. They've played a tougher schedule, and the best way I can describe it is their opponents were 12% tougher than Nevada's. So if we look at some of these national rankings, points per game, Tulane is 20th, 35.4. Nevada is 29.9 for 51st. Not much difference there, but when you go down to the Nevada ground game, it kind of stands out here. Rushes per game, 124th in the nation. Rushing yards per game, 111, which is 112. Tulane, 220 yards per game, ranks 15th. So when I see this, it makes me think right away I have a superior ground attack, and I have a defense that's really not going to have to worry too much about the run. And Tulane's, they in their last game, it escapes me who it was. But throughout the season this year, they've put up some big fights against opponents that I thought were superior.
They beat Memphis.
They beat Memphis, but who else did they? They had some close losses too.
But the Mountain West is a way stronger conference than that, man. Come on.
Well, here, I'll tell you right now. I can pull up their schedule.
Carolina and Temple and Memphis, and they lost to Tulsa.
Tulane's strength of schedule of opponents. Tulane, I have at 32.2 on my metrics. Nevada's 27. So Nevada has played Wyoming, UNLV, Utah State, New Mexico, San Diego State, damn good opponent.
Whoa, San Jose State, don't forget them. And they're
San Jose State there at the end.
They're the champs of their conference, right?
Yeah.
Don't forget
teams,
Fresno had a good run. Don't forget San Diego State. San Diego State had a good run. they played some quality opponents, and not to mention
New
they also
Mexico.
played Hawaii on the island. So they've been traveled, they've been everything. I don't know. It's bowl time. It's bowl time, John. I gotta defer.
How about
They
New Mexico?
did play Tulsa. Tulane did. Army, who he's been playing pretty well this year, and Memphis is. I think that is a quality win against them. For whatever it's worth, I'm going to be taking Tulane to the window here, and I'll give you a system. This system has hit 75% winners over the last 5 years, 34, 11, and 3 pushes. You're going to play on any team that is in a game line within 3 points a pick on either side after allowing 100 or less rushing yards last game and facing an opponent after they allowed 5.5 or more rushing yards per attempt last game. So that capsulizes exactly what I'm saying. Tulane's defense keeps them under 100 yards, and Nevada's going to allow 250. That's what that system is telling me.
Yeah, no, I absolutely hear you. And those were stale lines, boss. It is 2.5. So you're going to get a minus 2.5. And the least amount of juice for you, John, is at PointsBet, minus 110.
Okay.
All right, John Ryan is locked in. Minus 2.5, minus 110 at PointsBet. Big boss, come on in.
John Ryan pushed me to the money line. Take me over to the money line.
I'm going to take the money line with
Take
you.
me over to the money line. I'll come
What
get
do you
paid.
get for the money line? You get more points?
Whatever it is,
Plus
just take it
100.
over there.
Plus 100, I see.
How does that work in the contest with the money
Well,
line?
it's just units based. It's a units based.
Okay.
Units
Add up the units. I got you.
Yeah. So the best that we can get right now is at FanDuel. PointsBet at plus 120.
Give me that 120.
I'm going to take it too. So we're going to start locking in. So Boss is on Nevada at plus 120. Bag is on Nevada at plus 120. We have John on Tulane minus 2.5, minus 110. These are all at PointsBet. Big Ragoo, take it away, my man.
3 blind mice. 3 blind mice. Give me Nevada plus the 2.5. That makes 3 of us. Actually, initially when I first looked at this thing, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm not going to call it a home game for Nevada, but basically they're playing a familiar area right up in Boise, so they know the area well. Then I was kind of thinking, well, what are we looking at the weather-wise? It's going to be like 78 degrees. It's going to be a nice day up there. So being from New Orleans, with Tulane and them playing, do they play in a dome down there? They don't play in a dome. They play like they play turf, but not dome.
Yeah.
So the weather's not going to be no factor basically in this game. 1 mile an hour wind, maybe like a 20% chance of rain for that matter. But to John's argument, they don't have much of a running game, but their play selection is like 2/3 to the pass, where the exact opposite is for Tulane. And like DJ says, they've seen some pretty tough teams that can run the ball in that division, and they fared out pretty good. Schedule-wise, stat-wise. I mean, if you look at these guys on paper and the line dictates that, they're almost dead even to every aspect of the number goes for their efficiencies on the pass, on the run, whatnot. Just one team runs more, the other team passes more. And that's a concern when Jimmy told me the DE's gone. I don't know how much of a pass rush or sacks attributed to the defense. Jimmy says there's not too many. They're going to have to apply some pressure to this team, and they're probably going to be a pass first to kind of loosen that defense up, and then maybe they pound the ball a little bit. But overall, I think it sets up well for Nevada with the defensive alignment they're going to get, depending upon how they get to the pass. If they shut the pass down, it's going to be a long day for Nevada, and that's what probably John's thinking. John's going to think they're probably one-dimensional. You're not going to be able to, move the chains, keep drives alive. And if you think that, then they'll probably play well to the under. But I think Nevada, I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's probably going to be a 3-point game either way. I think whoever wins this game is going to win it probably by double digits, 10 to 14 points.
Winning by
And I think
margin.
that's why I'm going to take the +2.5. Even though I'm going to chicken out, I'm going to say just in case it plays close, I'm going to take the 2.5 points, and that's going to be my official contest play.
Famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Albertsons Stadium, Boise, Idaho, Tulane versus Nevada. And Boss and I are on Nevada money line at +120. John's on Tulane -2.5, -110. Ragoo is on +2.5 on Nevada, -105 at DraftKings. And there you have it. None of us messing with the total on this spot. We move on to 7 p.m. Eastern, the Boca Raton Bowl. UFC Knights 6-3 on the season versus number 16 BYU Cougars 10-1 on the season. FAU Stadium, Boca Raton, Florida. After losing at home 36-33 to then number 7th ranked Cincinnati in a very tight November 21st loss, they came back and won at USF. We're talking about UCF here. They came back and won at USF 58-46 in a sloppy affair. Sophomore quarterback Dylan Gabriel was excellent this year. He threw for 3,353 yards, 30 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Now we have the issues for UCF. And let's just see what we are dealing with quickly here from an odds perspective. It opened at 4.5. It's now 6.5 right across the board. And from a total perspective, it opened at 70. It shot up to 75. So Dylan Gabriel was excellent. Their star receiver, Marlon Williams, he caught for 1,039 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's opted to sit out this game, prepare for the NFL draft. So their star receiver gone. Jalen Robinson will become the number 1 target. He had a very good year. Caught for 935 yards, 5 touchdowns. They have a two-headed monster at running back with Greg McCray, 131 carries, 681 yards, 9 touchdowns, and Otis Anderson, 614 yards and 4 touchdowns. UCF put up 44.3 points and 585.6 yards of offense a game. It was their defense that was the issue. Their defense was suspect. They allowed 473.7 yards and 31.4 points per game. And it was the November 4th traffic stop that was the turning point in this defense falling apart. 4 key members of this UCF defense: junior defensive end Randy Carlton, redshirt senior defensive tackle Kenny Turnier, redshirt senior linebacker Eric Mitchell, defensive back Antoine Collier. And it was Antoine Collier who got arrested in the traffic stop. Officers smelled cannabis inside the car. That wasn't the problem. The problem was they found a backpack on the passenger side floorboard with a loaded AR-15 semi-automatic rifle with a magazine inserted and a Glock pistol with an extended magazine. 4 players were kicked off the team, and their defense is so vulnerable. It was not very good to begin with, and now then they became just worse. BYU coming off a strong season, just a 22-17 loss, and now 12th ranked Coastal Carolina on the resume. Bounced back from that loss to defeat San Diego State at home 28-14. Outscored their opponents this year by an average of 28.4 points per game. Gained 510.1 yards per game while only allowing 309.5. Junior quarterback Zach Wilson was very good, 3,267 yards passing, 30 TDs, 3 interceptions. And then you have running back Tyler Algier, ran 131 times for 957 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's listed as probable. He has an illness that's not COVID, but he has an illness. He's expected to suit up. Dax Milne caught 63 passes for 1,118 yards, 8 touchdowns. Wide receiver Gunnar Romney, who caught 38 passes for 755 yards, 2 touchdowns, is in concussion protocol, but he's listed as probable. With that all being said, I think that the defense is the issue. UCF's defense is bad. BYU has a lot to play for here because of that stinging loss when they were 3 or 4 yards away from winning, or 2 yards away from winning that game against Coastal Carolina. I want BYU. I think they win by more than a touchdown. But let's hear what the Big Ragoo has to say about UCF, a team he knows very well. So let's start with Big Ragoo, UCF, BYU.
Yeah, man. It's a head scratcher, too. When I first seen the number, I was like, man, that looks awful low for a team that's men. These guys are men, basically. You know, these are big boys on BYU. They're not to be taken lightly, no matter when you play them. And they played a game and a half, like you said, at Coastal. That game alone just kind of, was a big eye opener. It was kind of be expected, that type of game for that type of setup. But this one here, man, I'm like, and initially I thought over, but I kind of missed the boat on that, and it's crept way up to 75 now. My concern is for UCF is I don't have a question about them scoring points because, just the way that Heupel runs that offense with Gabriel. And they got weapons all over the field. They're down a receiver. They got next up over there. So not so much, but this BYU defense is going to be a little concerning for me to even look remotely to try to get to that total. And that was my initial play to get involved with this game here. But I tend to agree with you. I would probably look to either pay, if I'm going to put my money up, it'd have to be BYU or pass here, because I don't see how UCF can match up physically with these guys. They're going to have to beat them on speed, and that, they're going to come at them with pace without question. But that's the only shot they have to maybe late in the game. If they try to hang in there, late third, early fourth quarter, and they've ran 60 plus plays, and they're trying to turn to that 70, 75, try to get up to 80, possibly BYU is going to want to grind them down. If UCF doesn't have success moving the ball and converting third downs and making the occasional big play on defense, which, they're not known for their defense, but they do make plays, believe it or not. They do make some key plays on defense to stall drives every now and then. That's the only shot they're going to have. Otherwise, it's going to be I won't say a long day, but a long grinding day for UCF. But they're going to put points up. I don't think they're going to – I think their team total was, last time I looked, was around 30, 31, 32, somewhere around there. And then BYU was like – or might have been 33. Can you look those up, Jim?
I'm looking them up right now, yeah.
Here. Let's figure something out.
BYU is in the high
is it 41?
High 30s.
Yeah.
The team props have BYU right now at 41.5.
Yeah, 41.
Juice to the over, and UCF at 33.5. Juice to the over.
And it's only a 4-point number?
Say that again.
What's the line on the game right now?
It's moved from 4.5 to 6.5.
6.5. Okay. Well, see, both. I think you would, if you can stay under 7, BYU would be the play for me. So I'm going to make it official. I'm going to take BYU, locking in now, minus 6.5.
That makes a ton of sense to me. We can get minus 105 at BetMGM, minus 6.5 at minus 105 at BetMGM. Let's go over to John Ryan. John, here we go. Game 2 of our show here. Boca Raton Bowl, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, UCF BYU.
I like the under in this game quite a bit. And what did you say it was, like 71.5?
No, it's shot all the way up to 75.
Way up.
All right, well, then when I see that
year to year.
Yeah, that's I never want to say there's free money, because that's never a good thing to say on a live show. And it's never good to say that there's value in the line either. But this line's nuts. BYU has tremendous size, as Big Ragoo was saying. I mean, they have a size advantage here that's going to be pretty evident, even if you're seeing the game on TV. And their defense, I think, second in the nation in scoring. But they didn't play that tough a schedule. Actually, by comparison, they played opponents that matched the opponents in Nevada, right to the 10th of a percent. So with that said, some of these numbers get a little bit skewed, and you got to always look at these team metrics based on strength of schedule. But in this game, the under is really popping up on my radar here. BYU 43-17 to the under, facing good rushing teams, averaging 200 or more rushing yards per game in games played since 2000. 36-14 under, facing good rushing teams, averaging better than 4.75 yards per rush since 2000. 30-12, even better, to the under, facing excellent offensive teams, averaging 6.5 yards per play in games they've played since 2000. So you start getting these numbers here. And, BYU, way back in the day when that guy that played for the Chicago Bears was their quarterback, they had some totals that were approaching 70, but I don't think BYU's been in too many of those types of affairs of late. On the system side, and then I'll pass the baton. This one is, I don't want to give you that one. That one's Okay, play under the total. This one has hit 67% the last 10 seasons. Only one losing season among the 10. You're going to play under with any team where the total is greater or equal to 70 in a game involving two mistake-free teams. And by that, I mean averaging 1.25 or fewer turnovers per game. And that's all there is to it.
Hey, if I told you, John, that UCF, BYU is averaging more yards per play on the rush and the pass, would you believe that?
They're averaging more yards per rush than per pass.
Yards a rush. And
yeah.
5.2 yards per rush and 10.4 per pass. Where UCF is 4.8, 9.1.
Yeah, I mean
they just don't run as many plays.
That's right. I was just going to look that up for us. In the ground attack, UCF ranks 17th in rushes per game, running 45 rushing plays per game, rushing yards per game, 213, ranking 25th. BYU ranks 102nd, 35 rushing plays per game, and 49th in rushing yards per game. So your point is exactly right.
Very, very interesting spot, John. And you can get it under 75 at minus 105. You know, that I think this is too high, but I'm still hesitant. But I like what I might add this on. Let's get to DJ Bigg Boss here. BYU 6.5-point favorites total at 75. Boss, what's your move?
This was a weird game for me. Initially going into the game, I really liked the UCF going into Boca Raton. Ain't that how you say it, Big Ragoo?
That's pretty darn close. Boca Raton.
Boca Raton, right there in the rat's mouth, right? But after looking at it further, you know, BYU has defense. These two teams are fairly similar on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defense side, that's where they differ a lot. And BYU's defense is way better than UCF defense overall. But the funny thing that I see in it is a bowl experience. The coach over here has been pretty good at BYU. He's 2-1 in the bowl games, and the guy over here at UCF, however you say his last name, Heifel. There you go. Heifel. He's doing pretty good too himself. So going into the bowl game, they look good. But the one thing that I seen, and this is just to be contrarian on this one, but and I'm gonna let this be the straw that broke the camel's back, and that's that BYU does not do well in bowl games in big cities like Vegas, Florida, places like that. And that could mean a lot in bowl games, how teams travel. You got to think where these guys are coming from. And then they go places like Vegas, they go places like LA, they go places like Florida, and it has an impact on them. But the only odd factor about that is COVID-19, and they can't really do all that. But they go into Florida, ain't no telling what they could do. So
down in South Florida, they're locked down over there.
Yeah, for the sake of all Big Ragoo's real people over there in Florida who would never let this game go without taking UCF, I'm gonna take UCF plus the points.
All right, we'll give you the minus 105 that I quoted from BetMGM was actually for UCF. The best line for Ragoo and I was a minus 109 at DraftKings. The best line for Big Boss is UCF plus 6.5.
And don't forget, it's only because BYU does not play bowl games in big cities well.
It's an angle.
I think that if I'm close to moving on the under with John. Ragoo, you saw the under go up the total go up to 75. At 75, if you had a free $500 bet to make on the total, what would you go, over or under?
No, I'd be on the under. It's funny because I think that one, I'm not going to say it's going to be way under, but, you know, I don't want to use that V word because I hate it too. But I'm just saying sometimes when you get away from a number, you know, that's when you can – that would have been a pretty good little middle opportunity there, I think. I think it's going to be close. but I don't think it's going to get up over 70. I think it'd probably be in the mid to high 60s. Like middle high 60s, like 66, 67, somewhere in that range.
I'm going to double up on this game. I'm also going to move on the under. Take away the best receiver on UCF. You put UCF in a situation where you can then focus, because one of the reasons why this offense was able to look so good through the air is that you couldn't just focus on Marlon Williams. You also had Jalen Robinson to worry about. Now you can just focus on Jalen Robinson. So we have UCF plus 6.5 for Big Boss at BetMGM, and I'm going to make the same move as John Ryan, under 75 minus 105 at PointsBet. This has just gone too high. All right, we move on to Wednesday, December 23rd action. Thank you guys so much for joining us here. Odds.com. The New Orleans Bowl. Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, 5-4 in the season, versus Georgia Southern Eagles, 7-5. Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Right now, a few books are at 5.5. The Georgia Southern favored, and a couple have moved to 6.5. In the total perspective, it opened at 51 and it's dropped to 48.5. Let's talk about La Tech first, going for their 7th straight bowl victory under Skip Holtz. La Tech went a month between football games due to positive COVID test. During the 1-month hiatus, top receiver Adrian Hardy opted out for the remainder of the season to prepare for the upcoming NFL draft. They returned December 3rd with a 42-31 win at North Texas. They closed out the regular season by being pummeled 52-10 at TCU. Their offense struggled at times, only averaged 325.1 yards per game. Senior quarterback Luke Anthony only had one game over 200 yards passing, and that was back in September against Houston Baptist. He did throw for 16 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, so it wasn't like he had a terrible season, but he wasn't able to gain consistent yards. Israel Tucker, running back, 129 carries, 525 yards, 4 touchdowns. They allowed an average of 34.3 points per game on 425 yards per game. Georgia Southern is coming off their 3rd loss in 4 games, 34-26 at home to App State. They dealt with injury problems all year. So starting quarterback Shea Ward's dealing with a shoulder injury. They say that it is likely that it will impede his status for the New Orleans game, or for the New Orleans Bowl. Backup quarterback Justin Tomlin has an ankle injury. His status is unclear. That means that they may have to play their 3rd-string quarterback. They have a very interesting 3rd-string quarterback, and he was in for that game against App State. He's a senior quarterback named Miller Mosley. Mosley went 6 of 15 for 131 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And they covered that game. I was on them. It was very, very interesting guy, and they play hard for him. They love him. Their offense struggled at times, scoring 26.3 points per game, just 364 yards of offense per game. They couldn't move the ball all year long, just 102.3 yards per game. So they bring in their 3rd-string quarterback and actually get more yards through the air than they'd averaged all year. Their defense was excellent all year, allowing just 22.3 points per game on 335.5 yards per game. All right, we've had both Ragoo and Big Boss open up a spot. Let's go to John Ryan opening this up. New Orleans Bowl, take it away.
Well, this is an interesting matchup because you have Louisiana Tech going for I think you said the 7th consecutive bowl win, but they have a negative point differential, which you really rarely see in a bowl game. And that reflects the inconsistencies that you were outlining. They played an incredibly fast pace, averaging 74 plays per game. Georgia Southern, by comparison, runs the ball 77% of plays and executes 63 plays on average in total. Their pass play percentage is only 23%, and it's 52% for La Tech. 3rd down conversions are in favor of Georgia Southern too because of that running game. They run the ball on 1st down. It sets up 2nd and medium yards, and they have a lot of 3rd downs where it's extremely manageable. 3rd and 2 or less. Their 3rd down conversion is 40.4%. Red zone scoring is pretty equal between these two teams. La Tech 90% scoring either a field goal or a touchdown, and Georgia Southern 87% of the time. It's a tough game, but we have to make a bet on every single game. So this is one. Truthfully, I would be a pass on, but I do have a feeling for the under in this game. And Louisiana Tech is 7-0 under, and after a loss of 17 or more points over their last 3 seasons. They're 8-0 under in road games after 1 or more consecutive losses against the spread in games played over the last 3 seasons. And scrolling down my sheet here. This is a rare occurrence, but this is what the machine learning is predicting for Louisiana Tech, that they are going to gain 4 to 4.5 total yards per play, which is below average, below their season average. In games that they've done that, the under is 13-3. And lastly, a little system here. It's pretty easy to follow. You're going to play under with any team against the total after having lost 2 out of the last 3 games. Has a win percentage above 50%, but not higher than 63. Playing a winning record team. Pretty straightforward. 5 years, 68%. And it manufactures cash. It's 8-2 this year, 48-21 the last 3, 299 and 198 the last. What would that be? Last 29 seasons. So I'm on the under.
Makes a ton of sense. And we can lower that juice all the way to minus 105 at PointsBet. Under. So John Ryan moving on the under 48.5 at minus 105 at PointsBet. All right, let's move over to DJ Bigg Boss here. Louisiana Tech, Georgia Southern. Take it away.
Skip Holtz, man. That's all I got to say. Skip Holtz, one of the former in Notre Dame coach's son right here. And this guy does really good in bowl games. Check his record. Bowl games, in a year like this, we don't know. But typically a bowl game is all about preparation and traveling and all those type of things. And in this situation, this guy is cut out to do that. And on defense, though, these two teams are very similar. Louisiana's giving up 97 yards on the run, 227 yards in the air, and Georgia Southern's giving up 112 on the run and 221 in the air. So very similar defenses, but the offenses are lopsided with the triple option that Georgia Southern runs. And without Wirtz gonna means a lot to that team. Even though the quarterback only plays so much part in that offense, this guy has a lot of rushing yards as well. So he keeps it and gets a lot of yards. So replacing him is going to be big time. So no other way to go on this one. Don't think about it too long. You know what I'm saying? It's bowl season. Take Louisiana Tech plus, what is it? Is it plus 5.5 still or something?
I can get you better than that. I can get you plus 6.5 for DraftKings.
Swing it.
All right.
Also, DJ, you're right about that, DJ. Louisiana Tech 7-2 in one-time bowl games, and against the spread, they're 8-2.
Yeah. And Skip Holtz only been there 8 years, so he hasn't lost a bowl game in a long time. So that has a lot to say, like I said, about preparation and stuff like that. And also, Louisiana Tech gets the senior quarterback out the two. The other guy, Wirtz, is a senior, but who knows if he plays. But this guy is a senior as well. So
what's his name? Wirtz?
Yeah, Shea Wirtz.
Wirtz.
Georgia Southern.
Wirtz.
Yeah, Shy Wirtz.
Yeah, Shy Wirtz. Okay.
But yeah, that guy plays a lot on that offense over there in Georgia Southern. So without him, it's going to be a way different game. Skip Holtz, the guy to do it. They're giving you plus points in this. Man, sprinkle a little bit on the money line on that one too, because like I said, Skip Holtz is immaculate in these bowl games. So I like that one right there.
He is. He's 6-0 straight up, winning the games by 18.5 points, and he's 5-1 against the spread, winning the games by 17.8 points.
See, you put me and John Ryan together.
Man,
we got this.
And there was another guy that was pretty good in bowl games. Last name is Doc Holliday, and he went down like the Titanic. And I bet him he was like 8-0 or 9-0 or something. So that's a good number, though. He is solid. That's the thing about these bowl games, too, when you get to these, when they get to this time of the year, a lot of that has to do with not tradition, but just the way these guys coach these kids up for these games and getting, like you like to say, DJ, the preparation, but the preparation not so much this go around because it's just another week turnaround. It's a quick turnaround. So how quick are they going to be ready? That's what remains to be seen. So I'll just segue into that.
Well, I'll say this year is trending to the under on all of the, short preparation times on big games like that. So I kind of lean the under as well. But if I were to take the total, I'd probably go contrarian because it's kind of low and it can go over any way. But I'm not a strong believer in when players go out, it just sinks the whole ship in college football. Like I said, it's always a kid sitting on the bench, can't wait to get in the game, and he becomes the X factor because nobody had no way to plan for him or nothing. And he could come with a whole nother skill set. Like in this game, they're gonna need to be able to pass the ball somehow. So if the third string guy was actually the recruit that could pass a little bit, this guy might be the guy for the job and can come through for him. But that's all to be seen in the game. Yeah. So, but other than that, it looks like I'm not gonna say that word, but it looks exciting to take La Tech.
La Tech a +6.5 for DJ Bigg Boss. Big Ragoo, what's your move here in the New Orleans Bowl?
I go back and I look at the opponents. I would probably give them like even par, or maybe, I don't know. Would you give Georgia Southern, John? You're pretty good with the efficiency numbers on scheduling. If you had to look at La Tech's numbers and Georgia Southern, who played the tougher schedule?
Louisiana Tech. Since I'm throwing the numbers around, we have a reference point now, and let's use Nevada as 27. In our show tonight, Louisiana Tech is 26.6. Georgia Southern is 22.
Yeah. So Georgia Southern, the lower is better or higher?
The higher the number, the more powerful.
More power. Okay. All right. Well,
Georgia Southern played a much weaker schedule.
Much weaker. Wow. Okay.
The weakest team I've seen so far in the show tonight.
Oh wow. Okay.
So far.
Well, I'm just going by memory because I know Army's defense is pretty good. Florida Atlantic at one time had was a top 5 defense, but they didn't play a whole lot of small sample size. In App State, they're usually pretty solid. And TCU is no slouch. We know that. Marshall. So that's why, but not the Marshall I've seen the past 2 weeks. I can tell you that. But I'm going to go contrarian here with you guys. I'm going to take Georgia Southern in this spot. I'm going to ride with the public. I just think I think if you look at their last every game they've hit the 20s. The first game against Texas State they scored 40. Then every game since they've scored like 27, 24, 20, 26. UAB against Louisiana Tech, kind of a shootout, 37-34. And their last one, a tough loss for them. They scored 10 points against TCU at TCU. So basically, on the road, they've struggled more so on the road with the one win at North Texas, and the other ones are losses. So I'm going to take and they are playing. Where's this game being played at? Louisiana?
It is in the great state of Louisiana. It's the Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
It's in the dome. Okay, so it's not in Shreveport. All right. So, anyways, like DJ likes to say, they're taking a little road trip down to one state over or 2 states over. They're going to visit their friends over there in Louisiana. We're going to take Georgia Southern and we're going to lay the wood here, 7.5.
Nah.
You get way better than that.
You can't lay the wood, Big Ragoo. You got to drop the sauce on this one because
we're gonna drop the sausage.
Okay, well, see, me and you, that's boss in the sauce, but me and John Ryan, that's the wood and the nail.
Oh, okay.
So we lay the wood and the nail over here.
We also got the lumber yard. That's serious.
I think it's going to be more of a ground control, triple option. How many times does Skip Holtz coach against that triple option? You've seen it before, time or two.
I'm not sure, but they only given up 97 yards on the ground. So if they already keyed in on the run, it's just a matter of time till you lock down the triple option.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll take my chances. This is just a gut play here, not much of a cap.
Come on, man. Come over here and join the wood and the nail. You could be the hammer.
I'll be the hammer. I'll drop the hammer.
All right, I am moving on Louisiana Tech plus 6.5 at minus 110 over at DraftKings, but I'm also moving on the under 48.5 at minus 105 at PointsBet, and that has us all locked in here. John Ryan on the under, Boss on La Tech at plus 6.5, Ragoo on Georgia Southern minus 5.5.
So how many plays can you put on the game?
As many as you want.
As many as you want. Okay. So we're just going with spreads and totals, right? No first half, none of that.
No, you can jump in first halves.
Oh, first half too.
Anything, right. Team totals, whatever you want.
Oh wow. Okay.
All right.
Now you got now you got the wheels turning now.
Perfect. Okay, we move on to 7 p.m. the Montgomery Bowl. Memphis Tigers 7-3 versus Florida Atlantic Owls 5-3. Cramton Bowl, Montgomery, Alabama. We have Memphis as 7.5 point favorites in some books. PointsBet has them as 8-point favorites. FanDuel has moved that up to 8.5. It did open at Bet365 at 8.5. This total opened up at 52. It's now down to 50. There's a 49.5 on the board, but the leading indicator books have them still up at 51. Memphis coming off winning 4 or 5 games to close a strong season. They were last seen in a 30-27 win at home over Houston. They put up 451.5 yards of offense per game and scored 31.6 points. Senior quarterback Brady White threw for 3,096 yards, 28 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Wide receiver Calvin Austin caught 60 passes for 1,025 yards and 10 touchdowns. Running back Rodriguez Clark ran 125 times for 523 yards. Their defense allowed 29.7 points per game and 448.7 yards. Their defense improved as the season went on. Florida Atlantic is coming off second straight loss and worst performance of the season. 45-31 loss at Southern Mississippi as 9.5-point favorites. Their defense that was so strong all year was gashed. Despite that loss, they still allowed just an average of 16.5 points, 326.4 yards per game. Linebacker Leighton McCarthy was a monster all year. 12.5 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, 7 quarterback hurries. He moved from defensive end over the linebacker as a senior, 40 tackles. Offensively, neither quarterback, junior Nick Tronti, or freshman dual threat Javian Posey took the job and ran with it. Their running game struggled, and now backup running backs Malcolm Davidson and B.J. Emmons are hurt, and they're unlikely to be available. And their running game isn't strong to begin with. TJ Chase led receivers with just 21 catches for 320 yards and 1 touchdown. The Owls are 4-0 in bowl games. They've scored 50-plus in their last 2 bowl games. But this is a very different Florida Atlantic Owls squad. We're talking Florida football, so we'll start with the big Ragoo here. Memphis Tigers between 7.5 and 8.5-point favorites in this total around 50. Ragoo, take it away.
Yes. So when Willie Taggart showed up down in South Florida, I figured, okay, what kind of magician is he going to be with these gang of many that Lane Kiffin left behind? But, Lane's going to recruit well, so he's going to leave him some weapons on the offensive side of things. But like you were saying, they started the season off, pretty impressive defensively. But then if you start looking back on those numbers, what they did and who they played, I mean, UMass, Florida International, which is not very good, Western Kentucky, which is not prolific offense, and then Southern Miss. The real tough team that they played, in my book, would have been Georgia Southern, and they only put up 3 points against them, and they lost 20-3. So even though they look good on paper with the defense, they really didn't have the competition to really, brag about, so to speak. So, and then you go back and you look at who Memphis played. Houston, pretty good team offensively. Tulane, pretty good team. Navy, up and down. And South Florida rebuild. But I would definitely have to give the competition edge, strength of schedule to Memphis here, even though the numbers indicate that Florida Atlantic's defense was pretty good. Now, offensively, with the injuries, they're going to have some difficulty scoring points here. And the thing that Memphis has always have a pretty good, special teams, and we used to call it running back U at Memphis. They've got some major talent, the past few years that went to the NFL in the running back position. A lot of these guys, they do double duties. They go to wide receiver. They can play kickoff returns. But they seem to be missing that punch, and the whole team's been riding off, Brady White's shoulders all year long. And he's done a pretty solid job, with all the missing pieces and some of the injuries they had and some of the COVID issues. So I think Memphis is a lot more of a well-balanced team to that regard. Whether they cover the 8.5, what is it, 8.5 now, you said?
You can get a 7.5.
You can get 7.5? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that would be, what's the total right now?
Depending on where you shop, why don't I just pull it up here, but it's between 49.5 and 51. Yeah, it's actually on the licensed legal American books, it's between 50.5 and 51.
You know what? I'm going to take the under here because I think Florida Atlantic is going to struggle to score points here, and I'm going to really see how good Florida Atlantic's defense, if it's as good as everybody's been saying, this is probably going to be their toughest test all year, and whether they're up to the occasion, that's not. But I think they're still going to struggle to score points, even though Memphis is not a defensive juggernaut either. But they have played some tougher opponents, and with the injuries and what's going on down in South Florida, I think Memphis would be up to the task to kind of they probably win by probably 10 points. That's probably the better play, but I'm gonna say that Florida Atlantic is going to misfire, and so is it Memphis to some regard. So I'm going to say that it's going to stay under the 51.5.
What exactly happened in that final game of the year for Florida Atlantic when Southern Miss put 45 on them?
You know what? They did score 31 there, but Southern Miss is a really bad team. They had all kinds of issues. Probably next to UMass, they're probably like a bottom 5 team, Southern Miss, I think, this year, if memory serves me correct. I don't even know what happened in that game. I didn't watch any film. I didn't see anything. I have no idea what happened. What do you think happened?
It's very difficult when I'm breaking down their season to comprehend what exactly went down.
Yeah.
They were 9.5-point favorites on the road. I mean, clearly they took Southern Miss lightly. Yeah. But it's a tricky spot. So
yeah,
your 51s here, Ragoo, are very juiced, minus 123. Ooh. But you can get a 50.5 at minus 110.
Yeah, let's do that one.
All right, 50.5 at minus 110 at BetMGM for the Big Ragoo. Let's move down to DJ Bigg Boss, Memphis Tigers, Florida Atlantic Owls.
Man, I'm gonna switch it up right here. I was gonna stay on my bold looks right here, and in this one right here, you got Memphis lost the last 5 bowls in a row. So I don't know, maybe they don't play well in bowl games, and like you said earlier, FAU has won 4 in a row. Well, I don't know. They won all 4 of the bowl games that they were in, but I really want to go ahead and take FAU plus the points because I really don't like giving up that amount of points, but the sun does shine on a dog ass someday, and Memphis should get their first bowl win after a long time in this one for sure. Do they cover the number? I'm not 100% confident, but I really like them for the win. So I'm gonna go ahead, close my eyes, and take them by the points. But yeah, give me Memphis in this one.
7.5 and minus 109. It's available at both DraftKings and BetRivers. We move on to John Ryan, Memphis, Florida Atlantic.
Well, you guys brought up some great points in that Southern Miss game. Just so if you were curious to know, I was finagling with the database a little bit. What went wrong was that they gave up 514 yards to Southern Miss. What's even more interesting is they completed 13 of 19 passes against Florida Atlantic for that 209. So if my math is right, that's somewhere around 15 yards per completion. So that's really ugly numbers. They had 48 rushing attempts for 305 yards, and those statistics are clearly the best that Southern Miss had all season. In Southern Miss's previous game against Georgia Southern, they had 70 passing yards. So, I mean, you're absolutely right, Big Ragoo. It's Florida Atlantic is that's just nuts. I'm looking at the the first half total to the over, thinking that Memphis is going to get out to, they're gonna want to make a statement. I think they're a team like every year I go through the bowl games and I try to identify the teams that want to be there versus the teams that don't. And it's subjective, but it does isolate the games that you may want to bet on. And I think Memphis definitely is a team that will be focused, will prepare, and they have some tremendous numbers. First half total 8-0 over when they've had more than 7 days rest. Either a bye week or going into a bowl game. There's another one that has to do with bowl games, and they're 17-2 to the over. So I like the first half total.
All right, let me see if I can
to the over.
Let me see if I can get you better than what's on the board right here. We can get 25.5. Can I beat that? I can beat that. I can get you a 25 at Circa. So we'll go for JR.
And that doesn't mean I'm necessarily saying that this game is an over game either. This is a game that I think if Memphis gets out to a lead of, say, 17 or more points, you could see them just focus on shutting down Florida Atlantic's offense, and you could have hardly any scoring at all in the second half, and Big Ragoo wins his too.
I hear that. All right. Ragoo on the under 50.5 at BetMGM. Boss on Memphis minus 7.5 at DraftKings. John Ryan on the first half over 25. I have interest in Memphis first half at minus 4.5, but I am just going to stick to the full game minus 7.5 at minus 109 with DJ Bigg Boss. That's available at DraftKings. All right, we locked in. Prince of the City, much love. Happy holidays to you, my man. Thank you for joining us. So we have Ragoo on the under 50.5 minus 110 at BetMGM. We have John Ryan on the first half over 25 at Circa. And Boss and I are on Memphis Tigers minus 7.5 and minus 109. We move on to Christmas Eve, Thursday, December 24th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. We start with the New Mexico Bowl. Hawaii, Houston. This total opened up at 61.5. It's dropped to 59.5. Houston opened up as 11-point favorite. That's gone up anywhere between 12.5, 13, and 13.5. Arthur Meade Jr., by the way, is on the under Florida Atlantic team total 20.5. That's a very interesting look, Arthur. Very interesting look. All right, let's talk about the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. 4-4 on the year versus Houston Cougars 3-4. Toyota Stadium, Frisco, Texas. I don't like Hawaii, but I don't trust Houston at this point, and I really want to hear you guys' breakdowns on this to cover this kind of spread. I guess I lean at this point to taking Hawaii plus the 13.5. Hawaii finished the season winning 2 of 3. They were last seen in a 38-21 win at home over UNLV. Now, we know how bad UNLV was this year. Their offense wasn't nearly as dynamic this year as it was last year. They averaged 26 points per game. They gained just 398.5 yards per tilt. Sophomore Chauvin Cordero threw for 1,947 yards, completed 62.1% of his passes for 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. They struggled to move the ball on the ground. They were led by Cordero, their quarterback, who ran for 450 yards on 108 carries, scored 7 touchdowns. Cordero could not connect any deep passes. He struggled with deep balls. He struggled with the deep pass or even the 15 to 25 yards pass so much that their leading receiver was running back Calvin Turner. 29 receptions for 458 yards and 5 touchdowns. Their defense allowed 29.3 points per game and 421.5 yards per game. Houston closed out its season losing 3 of 4 games. They were last seen in a 30-27 loss at Memphis. They scored 32.3 points per game and gained 423.4 yards per game. Quarterback Clayton Tune didn't take the next step that people were predicting him to take this year. He completed just 60.7% of his passes, 1,832 yards, 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Kyle Porter, their running back, did not look good either. He ran 96 times for just 394 yards and 4 touchdowns. His longest run all season long was 18 yards. Keith Corbin led the receivers with just 27 catches for 352 yards. Their leading receiver caught 1 touchdown pass. Their defense allows 417.3 yards per game, allows 32.6 points. And then their defensive lineman, Peyton Turner, who leads the team with 5 sacks, he's left the team this week for personal reasons. A lot of moving parts here in the New Mexico Bowl. Hawaii Rainbow Warriors versus Houston Cougars. Let's go to DJ Bigg Boss. I know he knows this Hawaii team very well. What's your move here? Houston Cougars, big favorites, and this total's dropped 2 points to 59.5.
Man, I don't like Cordero, man. Cordero he's so sometimey. I mean, at the beginning of the season, he had an awesome game, and we thought he was really gonna do something different over there at Hawaii. I mean, he had some tough shoes to fill after McDonald left last year, so he hasn't stepped up to par this year, not at all. They have had some lucky games on the island, and this time they off the island, and they playing a team that they don't know much about. I'm an advocate of Mountain West outside the conference, but this one I'm not an advocate of it. But it's tough for me to lay the 13 points with Houston. But you know, I would revert to the total, but I don't know what kind of game I'm gonna get out of Cordero. You know, Hawaii has showed points where they could play a little defense. It's a little bend don't break type defense, but they can play a little defense. But I don't know if it's enough to keep the number under the total. I'm not 100% certain how well Houston does their offense over there. So I don't know where to begin with this game. But since we're in the contest and we're having fun, so we're gonna get it done. I'm gonna go ahead and side with the Mountain West and take the points. Maybe I'll get a backdoor cover.
I still ended up there at this point. We know Houston's a better team. Can they cover this much of a spread? Let's hear what John Ryan has to say about this spot. I
like the double-digit dog here, along with DJ. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dana Holgerson, this is his first bowl game he's ever been to, right? If that's the case, then
all the years in West Virginia, he never went to the bowl game.
I have him on my database here. Well, that's let me change one parameter here. That's why I wanted to ask. It's the first one he's going to at Houston.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'll keep talking while I'm looking here. It's a pretty long list of.
Yeah, I think this is his second year in Houston, isn't it? Because his son, when De'Aaron Campbell opted out last year to go to Miami, his son was quarterbacking for a short while. So yeah,
that is true. But anyway, I was thinking like preparation for the game. Even if it's taking a new team, it is a challenge. And then going against an opponent that you know nothing about. I mean, both these teams don't know each other too well. I have the power ratings at Houston favored by 10. So there is the line is a little bit higher than that, DJ. I don't know what word you'd use for that differential between 14 and 10, but we'll come up with something. Maybe differential.
Plus 13.5 and minus 111 is what we can give DJ Bigg Boss. Keep going, John. What's your plan?
Yeah, I'm gonna join them on Hawaii. Double-digit dog, and they probably want to play this game more than Houston does.
Yeah, I want to offset my bet, so I'm gonna go side and total.
Sure.
Since it's in between, and hope I don't take the double whammy. But put me down for the over in this one. I'm gonna hope. If I gotta hope Cordero's gonna hang in there to cover, I gotta hope that he's gonna score for sure too. We got a slight speed factor coming out the Hawaii over there, so they should be able to get on the board. So I'm gonna take the total over, and I'm gonna take Hawaii plus a point.
Yeah. Well, we can give you a 59.5. It's dropped 2 points. 59.5 minus 110 at FanDuel. So DJ Bigg Boss adding the over to his action. Let's go to the big Ragoo here. Hawaii, Houston, take it away.
Yeah, we're gonna make a group hug on this one all the way with Hawaii. We're gonna shake up a different game. But I just don't think Houston's defense. I mean, they're giving up like 32 points a game, more like 32 points a game.
Yeah,
your turnover margin slightly, not as bad, but Hawaii's not setting the world on fire with turnovers, but their turnover differential is a little bit better than Houston's. And they struggle away from the island, though. That's their big issue. But, hey, they're on vacation now, right? The season's over, so maybe they kind of let loose a little bit when they show up to the New Mexico Bowl in Frisco, Texas. But, yeah, I'm all over the points. I'm going to take the plus 12.5, whatever we get.
13.5.
Or 13.5. And I'm going to sprinkle. Give me can you bet a half a unit or just all full units?
No, it's all full units.
All right, I'm going to get daring here. I'm going to take Hawaii on the money line here.
Ooh, there's the first big money line spot in the contest from the Big Ragoo. Also, our guy Connor Mack, too, one of our experts here, odds.com, is also on Hawaii and the points. Wow. We have our first big money line spot.
I'm going to draw you a Cadero jersey if you win that, Big Ragoo.
There you go.
Handmade.
Is it going to be made in China? Because if it's 2X. If it's made in the U.S., it's XL.
Oh, okay.
Plus 390 at FanDuel.
Yeah,
give them plus 390 for Ragoo. Big boy bet. I'm also on plus 13.5 and minus 111. There you have it. So all four of us on Hawaii. That's the first time that we've all been on the same spot. DJ Bigg Boss adding the over 59.5. Big Ragoo adding the money line. We move on to Christmas Day action, December 25th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, Camellia Bowl. Marshall Thundering Herd, 7-2 on the season versus Buffalo Bulls, 5-1 on the season. Cramton Bowl, Montgomery, Alabama. Oh, sorry, I'm on money line. Let me just move over to point spread. So my thinking after studying this game was that we didn't get a chance to see enough of Buffalo against strong competition. We saw them beat up on bad teams, but we didn't see them against weak teams. And they didn't look good against Ball State. I still can't believe that I didn't hit that. You know, to be honest, that was when my insomnia set in. So I'm like, day 3 or 4 into it. It was that game not hitting the over when it was 30. What was it? 35 or 30. They had 56 points at the break, at the half, and they scored 10 more points. And I got the line early with you guys on Monday at 66.5. I went up 69. But when they didn't get to the over, then I lost my mind somehow. This opened with Buffalo at -3. It's now at -3.5. We'll start with Marshall. After opening the season with 7 straight wins, Marshall's now lost back-to-back games with clear issues on offense. They were shut out 20-0 at home to Rice to finish the regular season, then lost 22-13 at home to UAB in the Conference USA Championship game. Their offense still put up 30.6 points per game and put up 407.1 yards per game. But Grant Wells, who looked better and better as the season went on, looked really bad in those 2 losses. So he was 18 of 35 for 165 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions against Rice. Clearly thought about the interceptions nonstop, and then he just didn't feel comfortable taking risks. He went 8 of 23 against UAB for 138 yards, 0 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. But 8 of 23 for 138 yards, not going to cut it. He completed 60.8% of his passes for 1,977 yards, 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions on the season. Now they have some issues in front of them. Their best offensive lineman, Josh Ball, opted out for this game. He's going to focus on the draft. So the man his key protector won't be there. Their defense was excellent all year long, allowing just 12.6 points per game and 277.7 yards per game. They also took a blow with their best defender, Tavante Beckett, who had 90 tackles, made the decision to sit out the postseason to prepare for the NFL draft. So you take off their best lineman and you take out their best tackler, and now they're playing Buffalo. Buffalo dominated their opposition all year until they ran into Ball State in the conference championship, lost 38-28 as 13-point favorites. That was it. The score was 35-21 at the halftime. Their offense was dynamic all year long, scoring an average of 47.8 points, gaining 508.7 yards. And then here's another issue. They're led by Jarrett Patterson, who ran for 141 carries, 1,072 yards, 19 touchdowns, but he hurt his knee. It's projected that he will be active, but he's dealing with the knee injury here. Their defense allows 379.2 yards and 23.8 points per game. So we have moving parts that are tricky to calculate. We'll start with John Ryan, who believed in the Bulls all season long, but didn't bet them when they fell apart to Ball State. At least I believe. I remember trying to remember the contest, but I don't believe you had them. You passed. What do you think of them here in the Camellia Bowl?
Well, on a side note, I just wanted everybody to know that Cincinnati is beating Pittsburgh 10-0 with 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. So if you like Pittsburgh, this is the time to do that live bet.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought I'd get off the rails a little bit.
Sure.
So in this game, Patterson was out. They only gained 130 yards, 134. But I do have a really killer system here. This is one of the ones that I don't tell anybody about, and it's 1-18 against the spread, and it's a bowl game system. So you're gonna play in a bowl game with a team that lost their conference championship by 8 or more points, and with the bowl game taking place in the month of December. So it's not any of the championship or necessarily the college football playoff games or the finals. So the month of December, they are a favorite. They lost their conference championship game by more than 8 points. Those teams are 1-18 to the number, and that works against Buffalo. And you can put me down for Marshall. But this is a perfect case study. What we talked about all year with Buffalo was the rising star. It was Apple computer stock going up and up and up and up. And then all of a sudden, I guess it was the week before Ball State, they were just so overbought and it just was extended too much. Doesn't mean that they couldn't have covered, but they were just getting, too many people on the bandwagon. And, the public was all over them in that championship game, too. And once again, what is the percentage, Jimmy, if you can see? Last I saw this morning, it was 74% was on Buffalo, which to me is nuts. Marshall is played a schedule that's 22, so not all that good. But guess Buffalo's is lower. It's 18. Buffalo is the lowest, has the easiest schedule of any team we've talked about tonight. And Houston actually had the highest, but you can throw it out the window because they only played 4 games. But now you're down in the teens, and then when we start talking about the Notre Dames of the world, we're going to be in the upper 40s. So it's a completely different world. So I think this is a step up in competition to play Marshall, and it's not going to go well.
I agree, but hearing that their best tackle and best linebacker out of the lineup.
You think Patterson's going to play, though?
You're right. That's a huge question mark. And if he does play, is he going to be 100%? No, he's not going to be 100%. No, you're right. That's a good.
I think that's the X factor in the game.
All right, let's move on to the big Ragoo here. Big Ragoo, Marshall Thundering Herd, Buffalo Bulls, Montgomery, Alabama, Christmas Day.
You think you got a couple anomalies in both of these teams, the way they finish up the season? Not so. I don't think so for Buffalo. I think more for Marshall, especially after that big loss that they took against Rice, the week before last. But I don't know. I tend. That's definitely a big concern, for Patterson. And then on the other side, what Jimmy was saying, with the defensive issues they're going to have there. But I don't know. Buffalo defensively in the MAC was supposed to be the MAC daddy, right? And then go up against another defensive team here. So my initial lean was I figured both teams would try to right the ship as far as offensively for Marshall and defensively for Buffalo. But if Buffalo's missing, if the Marshall's missing their defensive stars and they're missing their offensive star, that's kind of like an offsetting, I wouldn't call it a stalemate, but just basically probably advantage would probably go to Marshall there, because I think Marshall would probably try to rectify their offense before they try to clean things up on defense on the other side. So I tend to agree. As much as it pains me to do this, and I'm probably going to look at it going the other way. I'm going to look for a team total in this game, and I'm going to say Marshall over 26 points, or whatever that number is. I got 26 on my book over here, so you can tell me what it is. I think Marshall. I think Marshall. They might. What's the actual number on the game right now?
I got way better than that for you, man. I got 24.5
Yeah.
for Marshall on a legal book, and it's juiced to the under.
Yeah, give me that one.
Marshall over 24.5 for Big Ragoo. Very interesting. Marshall over 24.5 at -110. Team total for Ragoo. Interesting. Let's move on to DJ Bigg Boss here. Christmas Day action. Marshall Buffalo.
I'm looking for this game right here for Marshall. Okay, Marshall has good defense. That's on this hand, right? But then they have a horrible offense as well. So that adds another one to it. So that's digging deeper in on the under. I want to jump right away and go under on that team total, but I'm gonna let Big Ragoo keep the team total, and I'm gonna go full game under in this one.
Big Boss on a full game under. Let's see what I can offer you here. Moving to the totals and odds.com odds page. We get up to 53.5. Under is at -108. Let's just see. Yeah, 53.5 at circa 2. Okay, I can give you under 53.5 at -108 at DraftKings.
I take it, and I'll just go to say that the freshman quarterback over there at Marshall, right?
Yeah,
you know this guy I listened to a long time ago said that as freshman athletes go further in the season, it's a lot more difficult for them to toggle travel, sports, and their education all at one time. So around finals time and places up in this time, it gets rough for those fellas right there. So with a freshman quarterback, you see the last two games, he really fell off. But I love that Marshall defense. I think I was almost rooting for Marshall to win the game by interception on defense last week. But this Marshall team offense it just plummeted all of a sudden. I think a team like Buffalo, they play decent defense. They'll do enough to slow them down. But I think that Marshall's defense will come in and slow them down as well. But I think at the end of the day, we stay well under the total.
I want to add something too, Jim.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to take Marshall on the money line too.
Ooh.
They owe me some money from last bowl season. They owe me some money from Rice, so they got to pay me back.
Yeah, you have to think how is it will buff, because Van Trees is I almost said bum. I mean that's a little harsh, but
I don't know what kind of entanglement you had with Marshall, Big Ragoo. Tell us more.
It's vengeance.
FanDuel is giving Ragoo plus 138 at FanDuel. Well, I think Marsha. What's wrong with me? I think Marshall stays in the game, and I will take them plus 3.5 at -110. Available at circa. That's the same look that John Ryan's on. Very interesting breakdown. I was excited to hear you guys talk about that game. And there you have it. Lock it in. We move on to Saturday, December 26th. We start now. Also, with these games, I'm getting different times. I'm using ESPN's times. So, but I've seen books with different times. I don't know what to make of it. So we'll just take ESPN's times. This may not actually be the correct timeline or the time scheduled time of the game. We're going to start with the Cure Bowl. I've got 12 p.m. Eastern. I've heard that it might be moved to the night game. We will see. Liberty Flames 9-1 versus number 12 Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. This might be the most interesting game on the board. A bunch of books are saying this game is on at 7:30 p.m. So that but we're gonna cap it right now. Liberty 6.5-point dogs right now, and let's just see what we have for The total is just sitting at 59. Actually, the couple books have moved it to 59 and 58.5, but the leading indicator books still have it up at 59. This game is going to be a lot of fun. Camping World Stadium, Orlando, Florida. Liberty bounced back from their 15-14 loss at NC State by destroying lowly UMass 45-0. Their offense was excellent all year, getting an average of 483.5 yards, putting up 38.3 points, led by junior quarterback dual threat Malik Willis, who completed 64% of his passes for 2,040 yards, 20 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He also ran 120 times for 807 yards, 10 TDs. He was awesome. Their defense was very good, allowing 19.2 points, 301.2 yards per game. But their defense may take a hit if their best linebacker, Anthony Butler, can't go. He's dealing with an unlisted issue. It remains to be seen if he will be good to go. Let's go to Coastal Carolina, looking for an exclamation mark on their season after rolling through 11 straight wins. After beating BYU at home 22-17, they just barely won in a clear letdown spot at Troy 42-38. Their offense put up 37.5 points per game, 446.8 yards per game. They were led by freshman quarterback Grayson McCall, who just got better and better and better. He continues to get better. Completed 69.3% of his passes, 2,170 yards, 23 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. What a beast. Running back C.J. Marable ran 162 times for 844 yards, 12 touchdowns. Their defense allowed just 18.7 points, 340.7 yards per game, and they are a very healthy group going into the season finale here. Liberty Flames, Coastal Carolina, Chanticleers. Let's go with John Ryan here. Cure Bowl. What's your move?
What's the team total for Coastal Carolina? I'm going to guess it's like I'm going to guess 34, 33 and a half.
The Coastal Carolina team total is 34.5.
I usually don't get disturbed by a half point, but that kind of 34.5 kind of hit me. I like Coastal Carolina here. They've had a much tougher schedule than Liberty. Liberty is 19. Coastal Carolina is 27, which I believe matches Nevada, right? You know what we started with tonight?
Yep.
So, that seasoning and the fact that, Coastal Carolina is doing what they're doing, there's no reason to take the foot off the pedal here. As I said for several weeks back, when you have a team that's winning and covering games at a trend that's 6 and 7 games, that's a sign that the market has not caught up to really how good the team is. And I still think that we're pretty close to where the market is now getting into a good equilibrium with Coastal Carolina. But they're a team that you just cannot fade them, in my opinion. I mean, you just can't. They have a quarterback with 2 interceptions, as Jimmy said. I mean, how can you not give the credit where the credit's due? I mean, it's just an incredible season, and their strength of schedule was above average. And they are number what are they now?
12.
Yeah. So that's the highest in program history, obviously, and the highest of any Sun Belt team in the history of the Sun Belt. And if they win this game, here's the motivation part. If they win this game, odds are really good. They're going to end up the final poll in the top 10. There'll be enough 8, 9, and 10 ranked teams in that area that'll lose and probably lose big. And if Coastal wins big, they're going to jump right in there. So, oh man, I hate doing this. Give me the team total 34.5. I'll just stay with that.
John Ryan on the team total. John, let's just see what I can get you here at Circa. I've got it up, and they often do a little better, but they don't have anything in there yet. Okay.
Hey, I just got to jump in real quick.
Sure.
I checked the local. He's got 32. I jumped on it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice price.
Thank you, John.
You put it in for me too?
Sure.
Well, why don't you take it away now, Big Ragoo? You like Coastal Carolina at that point, team total wise. What do you think side total? Are you going to make a move?
Yeah, I think the side for sure. You know what it is? If you look at on paper, their numbers are real similar. but the competition, like John says, is like night and day. Not to take nothing away from Liberty because, their schedule is who they play, and that's how things line up for them, and they're talented. And what can you say about Freeze? He's probably one of the best in the business at running offenses. He won't be there much longer until he'll be in the SEC again soon. I guarantee that. But besides all that, I mean, you got to ride the hot hand, and Coastal's the hot hand right now. So we're going to ride them all the way. I'm going to take them. I'm going to take the shot that clears with the number here to cover.
You are getting -6.5, so we're still ahead of the 7, which is very, very important. The 6.5, you are getting -6.5 at -110, available at FanDuel. We move over to DJ Bigg Boss. Bigg Boss, Coastal Carolina Liberty, take it away.
Two teams that I found big time similarity in this year was San Jose State and Coastal Carolina. Two teams, both Cinderella seasons, but it kind of made it the same stuff. Just happened the coach's stock matured, came in at the right thing. The coach has a decent system and it's working for him. So no way you can stand in front of Coastal Carolina. Even though I think they've been tried and tested, they should be really exhausted. They played a really decent schedule. Considering they added BYU last minute. So, you got so many options taking this team. And like I said before, a few weeks ago, like they react good. They went down in that one last game. We did take a loss. They didn't cover, but, they went down and in a minute and some change, they scored a touchdown to win the game. So they respond very well. So I'm definitely jumping on a team that's going to respond well for my money. So give me Coastal Carolina all day.
-6.5, -110 at FanDuel. And I will be doing the same. -6.5, -110.
Is that a group hug? Is that a group hug?
Close. John Ryan took the team total over 34.5.
Same thing. Group hug, guys.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the Gasparilla Bowl. South Carolina Gamecocks, 2-8 season. And they get a bowl game.
That's crazy.
Versus the UAB Blazers, 6-3, Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida. And this took me a while. It really took me a while to cap. There are a ton of moving parts with South Carolina, and it was tricky. UAB opening up at -4.5. Now they're at 6.5. There is a book at 6. This total's gone from 45.5 to 47. And we're in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. South Carolina finished their season in ugly fashion, losing 6 straight. They lost their last 2 games to Georgia and Kentucky by a combined score of 86-34. On the season against tough SEC competition, they scored just 23.5 points, managed to gain just 355.1 yards per game. Senior quarterback Colin Hill was bad. I don't know the way to put it. He was just bad. He was replaced by freshman Luke Doty. Doty did not look good in 2 games as a starter. His last start against Kentucky was 11-25 for 85 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Running back Kevin Harris was a bright spot, running 185 times for 1,138 yards, 15 TDs. He was excellent. But that's where the good times end. On defense, they allowed 36 points and 451.5 yards per game. They dealt with a ton of injuries throughout the season. Now, with this, I focused on just the injuries, just the issues that are December that are different than what these teams have been dealing with. And here we go. Linebacker Jamar Green, likely to be out till at least the beginning of January. He just had a procedure done on his knee. Linebacker Sherrod Green, expected to be out of action until early part of January due to a fractured and subluxed hip. Defensive lineman Jordan Birch, bothered by an undetermined ailment. His availability in the Gasparilla Bowl is up in the air. Defensive lineman Kingsley and Ugbear going through COVID-19 contract tracing protocols. His status against UAB is in question. Defensive lineman Alex Huntley has an ankle injury. Remains to be seen if he will partake in the Gasparilla Bowl. Defensive lineman Kerr Thomas is hampered by a soft tissue injury to an unlisted location, which is the taint, probably. And it's up in the air if he will play in the Gasparilla Bowl versus UAB. That's 4 defensive linemen and 2 linebackers. UAB came back from missing a month because of multiple positive COVID tests with 2 giant wins. They win 21-6 at Rice, 21-6 after Rice had shut Marshall out 20-0. Then they win the Conference USA Championship 22-13 over Marshall. The offense puts up 28.4 points per game, 401.3 yards per game. Junior Tyler Johnston the third, started the last two games. And what he did is the opposite of Lucero. He played mistake-free football. He just made the plays he had to make. And it was a breath of fresh air after watching Bryson throw 7 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Running back Spencer Brown was excellent on the ground, 186 carries, 889 yards, 10 touchdowns. The defensive strong all year long, just 21.4 points, 311.1 yards. Now, let's start with John Ryan because I'm curious to hear if the strength of schedule is so that it pushes him to liking South Carolina, a team to me that's given up. This is a chance for UAB, to be an SEC team and make a statement. And I want UAB Blazers. I think South Carolina is a mess. And the market's moved from 4.5 to 6.5. Let's hear what John Ryan has to say. Gamecocks, Blazers, take it away.
I can tell you right now. What's the money line on South Carolina?
Wow. I will give it to you right now.
And then I'll give my reasons.
The money line on South Carolina. Plus 210 at FanDuel.
I'll decide by the time I'm done talking about it's take the points of the 210. I was hoping a little bit higher, but you shouldn't be piggish when you're trying to get lines either. Just take what the market gives you. So, they're a mess, but this is a bowl game, and now the team, essentially has to be looking towards next year. And a lot of times these bowl games are used by the coaching staff for evaluations. It's almost like in some situations like a combine. And South Carolina obviously has recruits coming in that would start on UAB as freshmen, not even redshirt freshmen. So I'm not putting down UAB in any way, shape, or form. But when we look at the strength of schedule that they played, it's 26, which is right around where Houston was in Coastal Carolina, right? Now we're in the SEC. South Carolina's SOS is 48. So it's more than 20 higher. And teams that are playing each other, that it's very rare you get a matchup that it's different by 10 in a bowl game. But when it's different by 10 and the stronger SOS is an underdog, they're 9-1. All right. And in another situation here, we have bowl game, ATS streak. In other words, they've lost 5 or more to the spread, and they have 2 or fewer wins than the opponent, 7-1. So I guess it would sound bad that if I'm casting aside the injuries, I'm casting aside the whole debacle that South Carolina went through. But that's essentially what I'm doing here, because a lot of the games that come up in this situation are similar. They're not quite as bad as South Carolina was this year, but they've all had problems. And I actually like South Carolina to have some form of redemption from the season and win this game. I mean, they're not going to want to lose to UAB. An SEC team is not going to want to – I think they show up and they play.
That's very, very interesting breakdown. Very, very interesting breakdown. Yeah. Let's move over to the big Ragoo. So I'll give you a little bit of time to decide money line or spread. We'll come back to you at the end. Ragoo, Gasparilla Bowl. I mean, I study the Gamecocks injury report is, 25 guys deep. I gave out the issues that have just affected them lately because just like NFL, they keep the shit on there that, affected them in September. But very interesting breakdown from John Ryan. What do you think here?
I like John's theory about the SEC, going to taking on not lesser opponent per se, but just I think in the very beginning of the season that they had, South Carolina had the toughest schedule in the nation at one point. But for that matter, that's why I knew Muschamp wasn't going to make it through the season, because it was going to be a tough sled. And DJ and I talked a bit about that early on. But I like the theory that John brings with that. SEC has always done well in bowl games, and usually it's on a different level too. For that matter, you're playing in a bigger scale. But not to take nothing away from UAB, this is one I really don't want to pick a side on. I was going to lean more towards the under on the total because I think even though South Carolina has all the injuries, I think they are going to try to muster up the defensive side. I mean, if you look at the only game they scored any points was against Mississippi, and that was the game that they fired Muschamp. All the rest of them, they haven't scored any kind of point. So this game's a dead under for me. And I was thinking about taking South Carolina on the money line also, but I'm going to pass on that because of what Jimmy said, and I'm just going to look to the under, stay on the under. What is it, like close to 50?
It's at 48.
Yeah,
under 48 and minus 110 at PointsBet for Big Ragoo. DJ Bigg Boss, I can't wait to hear how you're planning to attack this game. It's a very interesting breakdown so far. Take it away.
I don't know how to follow those acts right there, man. Those acts was some wonderful ones. But here go another game where they throw in another team out of nowhere. And I've been noticing that those games do go under, so I was really liking the under in this game. But I think UAB is totally outclassed in this one, man. Even though they do well versus teams over there where they at, playing against the South Carolina team, the South Carolina team's going to step at it like it's a second chance. Plus, the competition level is like night and day. I mean, if you look at how many ranked, look at the teams that South Carolina played and where they at right now, and then look at the teams UAB played and where they at right now. So, that just gives you the big gap between the two. So, if you're going to give me points with the SEC in the bowl game, give me the points, because we know all when it comes down to it financially, when it comes down to see who's going to get the first shot at whatever, they're looking at each conference and how many bowl games is won in each conference. If South Carolina falls down to UAB, they'll be the laughing stock of the SEC. So I take South Carolina on the money line.
You want the money line, not the spread.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it. If you're going to do it, you got to go in there for the money. I mean, if they're going to get blown out the other way, then that just happens. But more than likely, the SC should dominate this one and come away with a W.
What's the team total, Jimmy, on South Carolina?
The South Carolina team total is 19.5.
Give me that over also.
That's juice, 125, but wow.
That's all right. I'll take it.
That surprised me that low. Okay, so Ragoo on the under 48 and team total over 19.5 for South Carolina. Wow, very interesting at minus 125 at bet 365. And Big Boss is on the money line. Let me just see quickly if Circa is possibly going to give you guys a better money line. They probably, their money lines probably aren't out yet. Let me just see very quickly here. December 26th. Their money lines aren't out, so let's not worry there. But I can give you that plus 210 that FanDuel is hanging. Plus 210 for South Carolina at FanDuel. Wow. Okay, John Ryan, do you want points or money line?
I'm gonna take the points. It's 5.5, right?
6.5.
Okay, 6.5. And the money line's only 210.
Yep.
They're trying to push you away, John. Don't let them do it.
Minus 106. No juice at DraftKings.
I'll take the 106.
Plus 6.5.
Sorry, Big Ragoo.
Wow. What an interesting cap from you, gentlemen. So Big Boss, just to put a bow on this before I make my decision, I've heard from Ragoo and I've heard from you as well. You really believe that the Gamecocks care about this game a lot.
Why not, man? You're representing your conference, and you got recruiting errors. You got all kinds of angles there that makes them have to play a good game. Not that they want to, that they have to. Like, you playing the extra game right there. You representing the SEC. You in the opportunity to win right here, and all those players being hurt enough. That's just an audition for the underclassmen to come in and do a good job so they can have something to look forward to next year. You got to remember, and a lot of these coaches, you already chalked up last season. So the bowl game is actually game one of the next season. So these guys may just come out and bite.
Yeah, don't forget you got Beamer is going to be. I don't know if he's on the sidelines, but he's going to be watching these kids, and I'm sure they're going to want to impress the new coach coming in.
Wildly interesting breakdown. Okay, I'm going to move on. South Carolina plus 6.5 minus 106 with John Ryan, and that I wasn't sure how to handle that game. I love breaking that down with you guys. All right, we have 2 games left, and then we put a bow on this. We have the First Responder Bowl, number 19th ranked Louisiana Raging Cajuns, 9-1 versus UTSA Roadrunners 7-4, Gerald J. Ford Stadium, Dallas, Texas. It says 3:30 p.m. Eastern at ESPN. It may not be that time. Let's go. Louisiana is rolling. Right now they are 13 or 13.5 point favorites, and this total is at it's gone from 60 down to 57.5. Louisiana rolling. Their lone loss was a tight 30-27 setback to now number 12 ranked Coastal Carolina. They bounced back by winning 6 straight, last seen in a 24-21 win at App State, which was much better than the score indicates. Their long snapper was smoking rocks, and he was just firing the ball, 30 feet over people's heads. They stopped kicking the ball, and they even had their quarterback, Levi Lewis, run 40 yards backwards to take a safety at one point just to ensure that the long snapper didn't have to snap the ball. It had all the elements of a great college football game. Their offense puts up 33.9 points per game and gains 422.6 yards per game. And I just mentioned Levi Lewis. I love him. His numbers don't jump out at you. 60.5% of his passes he completes, 2,128 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I don't have the number in front of me. He runs for 326 yards or something like that. But he's a senior, and the players, they fight for him. They love him. They have a 2-headed monster running back with Elijah Mitchell, who had 122 carries for 751 yards, 7 touchdowns, and Trey Ragus, who had 117 carries for 660 yards and 9 touchdowns. And look at this. This is another thing that you just love about Levi. 12 different receivers caught touchdown passes for the Raging Cajuns. I love this team, and I wish I could have bet them. I wish that game against Coastal Carolina didn't get dropped, because at plus 3.5, I would have taken the Raging Cajuns. I've fallen for this football team. The defense just allows 21.8 points per game, 347.8 yards per game. Then we have UTSA. Finished their season strong, winning 3 straight. They were last seen defeating North Texas at home 49-17. They scored 28.6 points per game. They gained 413.9 yards per game. Junior Frank Harris completed 63.8% of his passes, 1,422 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Dual threat, also ran for 437 yards. Running back Sincere McCormick, excellent this year. He was a monster. 226 rushes, 1,345 yards, 11 touchdowns. They allowed 25.2 points per game and 381 yards per game. And their leader on defense, their safety, Rashad Wisdom, 82 tackles, 4 interceptions, has a left arm injury, and his status is unclear for the First Responder Bowl. Wow, what an interesting spot here. We're talking Raging Cajuns, so I'd love to hear Big Boss's take on them. So why don't we start with Big Boss in this spot? 13.5 points is a lot of points. What do you think here, Boss?
Man, these guys are the guys that could do it, man. They've been fired up all year. They made it over the App State Mountain. Like you said, they could have gave Coastal Carolina a run for their money. They playing good on both sides of the ball. UTSA, I can't vouch for them, but this Raging Cajun team, this is the year for them. Getting over App State, that was objective number 1. And objective number 2 is to come on with the bowl victory. The points is kind of high. I ain't gonna lie. Points is kind of high. Don't like laying the number, but in these bowl games, I mean, what am I to do? I can't see me putting my money on UTSA. UTSA is going to hope that their offense shake loose and just happen to be a little faster than them, and they score some points in the air. But this Raging Cajun team has been tested in the air, on the ground. They play a very controlled game and all that. So I really like the under too, but I don't know. It might be a little bit too low for me. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the points.
Laying the points with Louisiana Lafayette. To Louisiana.
Wait. I haven't said it yet on the show. I'm going to go ahead and lay the wood.
There it is. Minus 13 at minus 110. So you save the hook at PointsBet. All right, Big Boss is in. Let's go to Big Ragoo. Second last game on the card. the First Responder Bowl?
Yeah. Louisiana, I'm not going to say they're a forgotten team, but that would have been a key matchup. It was too bad they couldn't realign these guys to play this in the bowl game, right? Just kind of flip a couple teams around. But anyways, this is a game for these guys about pent-up frustration. They had a pretty decent season. Usually they're playing in the big championship game. So they had a lot of things kind of go parallel for them not to kind of get over that hump. Some quality wins. You know, the thing about this team is when they beat teams, they're beating a little better quality teams than UTSA has. And UTSA, you know, even they had some struggles with Southern Miss. And they lost to Florida Atlantic, 24-3. They beat North Texas last out, so they beat some mediocre teams, and they've given up like 20, an average of 20 points a game roughly against those teams too. But they haven't played anybody like this team yet that they're going to come up against, and I think it's a pent up game for Louisiana. They want to definitely win this and go in away fashion to prove that maybe going into next year they could be like one of the top dogs, which they will be anyways, in the Sun Belt Conference. And just a quality game. I think going to see a quality game out of Louisiana. Napier knows what he's doing down there. The kids, they always play for him. And better talent, the better coach, better quality opponents. And I'm gonna be with my guy DJ, and I'm gonna say lay the heavy wood in this one. Don't be scared. This would be like triple digits. When I say triple digits, I'm talking 20s. 20-point margin of victory here plus.
Wow, interesting. Their team total is sitting at 35.5. I do remember early in the year, John, when this UTSA team played BYU really tough. A sign of UTSA's ability. They're under the radar squad. I don't know how to handle this bet at this point. Let's hear your take on this spot, John Ryan. Let's go.
I was hoping one of the guys would say something about UTSA and they, taking the bet, but it's hearing that they're going to win by 20 and 30, and DJ and Big Ragoo are very great bettors, so it's hard for me now to even think about going against them, but there is reason to do so. UTSA's ground game has been pretty darn good the last three games: 288, 233, 443. One of those games was against Southern Miss. Wow. Power or the strength of schedule of opponents: UTSA is 24 and Lafayette 28. And that's initially what got me gravitated to this game, that the differential is only 4 and you're getting 14 points. There is a system, I believe, that I saw here on give me 1 second. Yeah, UTSA is a 76% winner since 1990. It's had 49 plays, pretty rare, but pretty damn good. 8-2 the last 3 years. So you're going to play on neutral field underdogs that are good rushing teams, averaging 4.75 or more rushing yards per carry, after gaining 240 or more rushing yards in 3 consecutive games. So that kind of sums up what I was just talking about. They had the last 3 games, the ground game was pretty impressive, and it carries over to this one. So with all due respect to these guys, I'm gonna. And you can mock me till the cows come home when I lose this by 50 points, but I'm going to go with UTSA.
UTSA plus 13.5 at minus 105. Sorry, let me move back over to the spread here. UTSA, who gave that to you? Plus 13.5 minus 105 at DraftKings.
Okay.
So you get that hook on the guys. And then the total here feels with these strong defenses that are very comfortable running the ball. It just feels like this under is in play. I've sort of missed the mark. I think it's going to be a good football game, and I'm going to take the under 57.5. Under 57.5 at minus 105 at PointsBet is my move on it. Under 57.5, minus 105 at PointsBet. And now we move on to our last game on the board. Great job, you guys. Thank you to everybody in the chat for rolling with us. A great job by our experts. We get to the Lending Tree Bowl. Western Kentucky Hilltoppers 5-6 on the season versus Georgia State Panthers. We're at Ladd Peebles Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. We have a total of 51.5. There is a 52.5 on the board here at these licensed books in America. And we have a spread sitting at 4 or 4.5, Georgia State being favored. Western Kentucky finished their season strong by winning 3 straight. On the season, they averaged just 18.8 points and 290.9 yards a game. Meek offense. But their offense sure came to life over their last 2 games. So a 38-21 home win over Florida International. That perfect contrarian bet for Big Boss. That total was so low. And then a 37-19 win at Charlotte. Senior quarterback Terrell Pigram was the difference. And I don't know why he got off to such a bad start, but he got better as the season went on. Still completed just 58.3% of his passes for 1,423 yards, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He also ran for 328 yards. He's a good quarterback. And Raymond Reichart, I will definitely do a recap of everybody's action contest because we're in a contest together. Running back Gage Walker ran 135 times for 614 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, Pigram is going to have some issues. This Western Kentucky offense started rolling the last 2 games, but 2 of their top receivers are dealing with injuries. And I say 2 of their top 4 because their stats, and nobody caught for more than about 350 yards. I don't have the number in front of me, but wide receiver Xavier Lane, he is their leading receiver. He's dealing with an undefined ailment. And the status for the Lending Tree Bowl versus Georgia State is uncertain. And then their 4th from a statistical standpoint, 4th best receiver, Dayton Wade, hampered with an undetermined injury. So we have an undefined ailment and an undetermined injury. So both are questionable. Their defense was strong all year, allowing 24.1 points per game, just 336.3 yards. Georgia State finished the season by winning 3 of 4. They were last seen in a 30-24 win over Georgia Southern. They're a healthy squad. They gained 417.7 yards per game, and they put up 32.7 points per game. And they're a lot of fun to watch. And it's 6'5" freshman Cornelius Brown, the 4th, because he tries to do too much, man. He's all over the field. He doesn't slide. He's taking huge risks, and I enjoy watching him play. He completed 59.1% of his passes for 2,046 yards, 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Wide receiver Sam Pinckney caught 44 passes for 753 yards and 6 touchdowns. They have 2 running backs that carry the ball. Destin Coates ran 143 times for 652 yards, 6 touchdowns. Tucker Gregg ran 82 times for 441 yards, 6 touchdowns. Their defense improved as the season went on. It was awful to start the year, but it got better and better. They're led by Jordan Strawn, their linebacker, 9 sacks to go along with 37 tackles. They did allow 424.3 yards and 32.9 points per game, but they got better as the season went on. The Lending Tree Bowl, John Ryan, Western Kentucky, Georgia State. Last game on the card. Take it away.
Well, this is a matchup of all the games we've analyzed tonight. These teams are perfectly even. Their power ratings are even. Their strength of schedule on the opponents is 28 for each of them. So that that's right around that average NCAA opponent strength of schedule. And my power ratings would have Western Kentucky favored by 1. So that kind of makes me scratch my head, leaning on Western Kentucky here. And it is a game I have to, be honest here too, that I would probably pass on because I'm a little leery of taking Western Kentucky, but that's who I'm on for this contest. Western Kentucky is 14-3 in non-home games, so that'd be road games and neutral sites after covering the spread in 2 out of their 3 games. They're 26-11 after 2 or more consecutive wins against the spread. 28-12 in non-home games after a game where they committed one or fewer turnovers. And the list goes on. And then there's, leave you with one little system here. Actually, there is no system on this, but there is a good one here I'll leave you with for the under. And this is a good one. This is 83%, last 10 seasons, not one losing record in any of the seasons. Play under with neutral field teams where the total is between 47.5 and 54 points in a game involving two teams where their yards per game totals is less than 50 yards per game. So in other words, it could be one team could be 410, the other team 450. As long as that differential is 50 or less, you got the matchup. And that makes a lot of sense to me. And in fact, I'm going to change my pick, Jimmy. I'm going with the under in this game. Because if you think about it, two even teams, how does the game usually unfold? Nobody wants to make a mistake deep in their territory and give a short field to an opponent where both coaches know that they're equals. It's reminds me of that book, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. If your opponent is equal.
Under.
So anyway, that's my play. The under
at minus 109. You get the extra point at DraftKings and BetMGM. I like that look. That look makes sense. Let's lock in John Ryan under 52.5 minus 109, and that is available. That just is no longer available. But there is still one at BetMGM that just left. BetMGM still hanging at 52.5, so we'll give you that. Just a cent more juice, minus 110 at BetMGM. I hadn't finished. If you finish writing it, you get it. I hadn't finished writing it, so it'll cost you an extra cent. Okay, very interesting take on the under there. Let's move over to DJ Bigg Boss, Western Kentucky, Georgia State.
I was initially leaning under too with Georgia State run game. The defense over there at the Hilltoppers should keep it looks like a really sought out under game, but Big Ragoo knows me best. When two teams line up that's too similar, what do? We jump the other way. So this thing right here, it's low number right here with 52. And I'm gonna jump the other way. I'm gonna take it. It's a bowl game. You leave it all on the field. Just too many different outcomes that can allow it to go over in a situation like this. If this was like a conference championship, or if this was a meaningful game in the sense that we want to play tough and fight to the end. In these bowl games, like John Ryan said earlier, you don't know which team comes to do what. You know what I mean? So in this one right here, I'm going to lean on the over side, and I'm going to take the over.
The over for DJ Bigg Boss, over 51.5 minus 106 at FanDuel. Let's go to the Big Ragoo. Last game on the card. Great job, you guys. Western Kentucky, Georgia State.
I want to know what the team total is for Georgia State.
Georgia State team total is 28.5. It's 28.5, but it's heavily juiced to the under, so you get a plus 100 if you want the over.
What's the under juiced to?
Minus 138.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I was thinking Georgia State run heavy. Western Kentucky's defense is tightened up. Even though we have Western Kentucky, the last couple of games have scored some points. And Georgia usually averages around 32, 33 points a game and giving up like 25, 26 points a game for their competition. Oh, no, they're giving up the same, basically. So if you like Georgia State, I think it bodes well to the over. And if you like Kentucky, you got to look towards the under here, especially on that number there. But what is the question mark here is what's Western Kentucky going to do for points? Are they going to have their typical 17, 19, 20-point game, or are they going to, play like they did the last couple games? And that bodes well for them because, like I say, Georgia State's defense will give up some points here. So, you know what? I'm going to do something totally different here. What's the team total on Western Kentucky?
Western Kentucky team total at Bet365 right now is 23.5 minus 120 on each side.
All right, give me that. Give me the over on Western Kentucky. We're going to say they're going to show up because Georgia State's defense is going to yield them some points here. So we're going to take over the 20. You said 23.5?
23.5.
That's the play. Over 23.5, Western Kentucky.
Extremely interesting. Extremely interesting breakdown. Oh God, I feel like
and give me the points too with with Western Kentucky.
That's where I was leaning. I just feel like Western Kentucky can keep this close enough.
Yeah.
Can keep
and
this
if they keep it close, you never know. You might see an overtime game, and that might push the total over too.
Plus 4.5 is slightly juiced. The 4s are not, obviously, but the 4.5s are minus 114. But I'm going to move on that as well. So we have Western Kentucky plus 4.5 minus 114. And I will also be on Western Kentucky plus 4.5 at minus 114. And there we have it. 10 bowl games broke down for you guys. We meet up again here next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to review everybody's action. If there's something that I've messed up, please let me know. Here we go. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Tuesday, December 22nd. Big Boss on Nevada money line. Bag on Nevada money line. John Ryan on Tulane minus 2.5. Big Ragoo on is on Nevada plus 2.5. Okay. Then we get to the Boca Raton Bowl. Ragoo's on BYU minus 6.5. Bags on BYU minus 6.5 in the under 75. John Ryan's on the under 75. Big Boss is on UCF plus 6.5. Then in the New Orleans Bowl, John Ryan's on the under 48.5. Big Boss is on Louisiana Tech plus 6.5. Ragoo's on Georgia Southern minus 5.5. I'm on the under 48.5 and La Tech plus 6.5. And then Montgomery Bowl, Ragoo's on the under 50.5. Big Boss on Memphis minus 7.5. John Ryan's on the first half over 25. And I am on Memphis minus 7.5, minus 109. Then in the Mexico Bowl, DJ Bigg Boss is on Hawaii plus 13.5 and the over 59.5. John Ryan's on Hawaii plus 13.5. Big Ragoo's on Hawaii plus 13.5 and the money line plus 390. And I'm on Hawaii plus 13.5. Then the Camellia Bowl. John Ryan's on Marshall plus 3.5. Ragoo's on Marshall team total over 24.5 and the money line at plus 138. Big Boss is on the under 53.5 and I'm on Marshall plus 3.5. Then we get to the Camping World Cure Bowl. JR, John Ryan's on Coastal Carolina, team total over 34.5. Big Ragoo's on Coastal Carolina minus 6.5. Big Boss on Coastal Carolina minus 6.5, and I'm on Coastal Carolina minus 6.5. Casparilla Bowl. Ragoo's on the under 48, and he's on the team total over 19.5 for South Carolina. Big Boss on South Carolina money line plus 210. John Ryan and I are on South Carolina plus 6.5. Then we get to the First Responder Bowl. Big Boss minus 13 on Louisiana. Ragoo minus 13 on Louisiana. JR, John Ryan on plus 13.5 with UTSA, and I'm on the under 57.5. Lending Tree Bowl. John Ryan's on the under 52.5. Big Boss is on the over 51.5. Ragoo's on Western Kentucky, team total over 23.5. At Western Kentucky plus 4.5, and I'm on Western Kentucky plus 4.5. Does that all sound right?
Sounds like a plan.
There you have it. What a spectacular job. Sorry I kept you guys so long here. There you have 10 bowl games all broken down. I'm going to tweet them out tonight. Also, tonight, for those of you guys watching, we have Dutch Boy Fresh making his season debut for NBA. He's going to be capping the 2 games. I will be filming that with him. That will be out in a couple of hours. So Dutch Boy Fresh in action, NBA season starting tomorrow. But spectacular work. Big Ragoo, John Ryan, Big Boss. Thank you guys so much for everything and all your insights and hard work. Sebastian Cornwall, the Czar, C-Mac, Raymond Reichart. Thank you guys. Christopher Reese, Maxwell Smart, man. What a monster he's just. Trans Canada, TJ Parks, Sonny Griffin, Doug Reed, Razor Sharp Picks, Joey Kent. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Have a wonderful, happy holidays. John, Boss, Ragoo, have a wonderful, wonderful holidays. Enjoy the time with your family.
You as well.
Absolutely.
Everybody in the chat, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating.
Yeah, do
Be
it
safe,
up.
and look forward to seeing you guys real soon.
I can't wait. I will see this group again a week from now on Monday. Big Boss, can you put a bow on this show for us?
Oh man, this is my favorite part of the show. Y'all ready for this? So first, I'm gonna say happy holidays to all of our followers, fans, whatever, the haters, all that, man. Happy holidays. Love your families. Stay home. Stay safe. And for all my parents out there, the hell with them kids, man. They probably took some of your shit at some point of the day or the month of this year. If you ain't gonna get them the extra controller with the game, beep them, okay? And for all my guys out there with side chicks, don't get your side chick nothing, man. That ain't right. That ain't right. But other than that, cash them bets and have fun, man. I really enjoy getting on this show with these guys and be looking forward to us checking out those next bowl games too. And vote for me. When I put my post out, follow me on Twitter, vote for me in the thing. Don't vote for John Ryan because John Ryan.
Vote for you?
Yeah, when I put the vote up on Twitter on who gonna win this contest, vote for me, please.
Oh, okay.
Everybody likes to vote for John
You're going to
Ryan.
be in the court of public opinion again. You're in big trouble, my man.
That's all right.
I didn't even know there was a survey. Who won it?
You won. What do you think? You blew us out of the game. You blew us out of the
now
game.
I remember. Now
I mean, I got to go scrape the senior centers a little more. I don't have enough fans coming in to support me. So I know there's a nice white-haired lady somewhere in some senior centers that can't wait to get her head on.
That's your alley, brother.
Yeah.
You know what's going to get you votes is the next show when you take Alabama over Notre Dame.
Oh, man.
That'll get you votes. I promise you.
I don't know about that one. I'll try. I'll think about it, John Ryan. I'll think about it.
We got time.
I'll call Brian Kelly. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Can you give us a leche, Boss?
Leche!